which pro has the fastest bike? 3. It's like Return of the Jedi or
something like that.
Yeah. So we're once again joined by Dan Bigham from Wattshop, who's going to help us perform the testing of our latest bikes we've got around. And we should also say, Dan, now World Cup medal winner as well.
Yeah.
Gold medalist.
Gold medal in team pursuit, last World Cup in Minsk.
And been representing GB in the individual pursuit as well.
Yeah, went to the World Championships, got a top 10. It was all right.
So this time round, the bikes we're testing are the Specialized S-Works Tarmac, the new one, particularly tasty bike.
It's a nice bike, yeah.
We've also got the new Merida Reacto, which is ridden by, well, potentially Nibbly if he decides to ride it. Maybe he'll decide after watching this video.
Yeah, it's a nice bike.
Yeah. And we also have the Cannondale SuperSix Evo as well, ridden by the Cannondale team, or EF Education First, Drapac, whatever they're called these days, those guys. So we've also got the Merida Scultura from last time, because we wanted that to be consistent so the data can be compared potentially with other data, so that acts as a control for us. And is also potentially very useful for Nibbly in choosing his bike. Last time we asked you which bikes you'd like to see tested in the future, and we looked at the comments and we've tried our best to get those bikes. So the Cannondale SuperSix was a really popular choice, and that's why we've got it. Now, the Pinarello Dogma F10, we really want to test it, and we know you really want to test it, and we have tried our best to get hold of one. But we've got a great selection of bikes, so we're going to push on with what we've got and hopefully get a Pinarello F10 in the future. What's the test procedure for those who've not seen the video before?
Okay, so yeah, we're using the same procedures we have for previous tests, obviously for consistency, and we have a control bike for that we've used previously. So the tests involve riding around at a control speed of 45 kilometers an hour. We're measuring power and velocity at the rear wheel using a PowerTap G3 hub. Each bike is tested in 3 different positions, so we've got a straight arm position on the hoods, straight arm position on the drops, and what I call an aero position, which is hands on the hoods, elbows drop, head down. Each of them are getting tested for 6 laps in each position, and then we use the data along with both the system mass and the air density and a few other things to effectively calculate your CDA, or your coefficient of drag times frontal area, which affects effectively how aerodynamic the bike is, and obviously comparing each bike with that.
Yeah, so we've tried to get the position of the bikes the same, and so the only thing that changes, because the wheel set's the same on each bike, is the bike frame from run to run. We've got a great selection, so let's crack on with what we've got. I'm now back at Cycling Weekly Megabase, and I've got the results. So before I get onto them, I just want to say a massive thank you to Dan Bigham and Wattshop, because without those guys, we couldn't do this kind of testing. And if you'd like to do your own aero testing with them, then you can actually book Wattshop, and what they will do is help you optimize your position, make you more aerodynamic and faster. So we'll put a link to Wattshop in the description below. So we're going to put a table up with all the results and data in. So if you want to peruse that in more detail at your own leisure, then you can pause the video now. In the results, we used the Merida Scultura as a benchmark, as a bike that we also tested last time. Now, it's important to point out that the numbers will not be exactly the same, and this is because of slight changes in conditions and also what Dan was wearing. However, the CDA values are very consistent, and this is enough to give us a good benchmark to compare against the other bikes that we've previously tested. Of all the bikes tested this time around, the slowest on test was the Cannondale SuperSix Evo. Now, this is somewhat expected as it is a climbing bike and not a dedicated aero bike, but it was interesting to see that it was significantly slower than the Merida Scultura, 16 watts in fact, when on the hoods at 45 kilometers an hour. Now both bikes do claim to possess some slight aero features, so you know, on the Merida the tube profiles have been subtly shaped to give a bit of an aero advantage, and also the Cannondale has this truncated aero profile on the down tube. It's sort of a teardrop shape, which is also intended to improve aerodynamics. An important detail to point out on the Cannondale is that the version we had was mechanical Dura Ace, so it had external cables on the down tube, which may have accounted for 1 or 2 watts, compared to the Di2 version where the cables are internalised. One other thing to point out is that Cannondale does have an aero bike on the way, so once it lands, we can't wait to test it. The fastest bike on test was the Merida Reacto, which was to be expected a little bit because it was the only aero bike we had in this selection. However, the amount by which it was faster was really interesting because on the aero hoods position, the Reacto was 15 watts faster than the Scultura. And then when we went into the drops, it was 20 watts faster. And then on the hoods, it was 19 watts faster. Now this is really cool because this is actually consistent with Merida's own marketing claims that the Reacto is 20 watts faster than the Scultura at 45 kilometers an hour. So it's nice to see that that's been sort of validated by our testing as well. Now it also means that Vincenzo Nibali should definitely rethink his choice of bike, as he does favour the Scultura on all courses. So he's just chucking away watts, isn't he? But where does the Reacto sit within the context of other bikes we've tested? Well, the data suggests from other tests, if we look at it, that the Scott Foil is still slightly faster than the Reacto. And then just below that, I think we've got the Madone and the Venge Vias. And then that's sort of where the Reacto is coming in at. So it's a very fast bike and there's very little in it between those top bikes. It's only, you know, 2 or 3 watts. So to ultimately get the clearest picture of where all these bikes sit within relation, they would have to be tested on the same day. But I feel that our data is good and still gives a good impression of where things are going to sit relative to each other. On to the S-Works Tarmac, which is behind me there. So Specialized claim that the S-Works Tarmac, the new one, is as aerodynamic as the original Venge, not the Venge Vias, the previous one. So it was really interesting to aero test it and see how it did. The data suggests that compared with the Venge Vias, the new Tarmac is 21, 5, and 17 watts slower across the 3 different positions at 45 kilometers an hour. Now, this is really interesting because the Tarmac is faster than all the other dedicated climbing bikes we've tested, but it's sort of slower than the fastest aero bikes by a significant margin. And it's also sort of as fast as the sort of slowest aero bikes we've tested. So it's sort of striking a balance between being a full-on climbing bike and a full-on aero bike. But it's also one of the lightest bikes we've ever tested. And that build we've got here weighs 6.7 kilograms, so with pedals. So, you know, it's really interesting to see that within bike design, a medium is being struck. So there you have it, there are the results. Now, regarding the validity of this experiment, it's important to point out that this exact kind of testing is done by pro teams and by equipment manufacturers when optimizing their products. And with previous experiments we've done, we've even been contacted by pro teams asking for more data in some cases. We really hope you enjoyed this video, and to see more videos like it in the future, then please subscribe to the Cycling Weekly channel, as it helps us to make more videos. And rest assured, I will not stop until I get a Pinarello to aero test. But there's plenty of other bikes we'd love to see tested as well, so why not suggest them in the comments section below, and we'll do our best to get hold of them. But until then, I'll see you next time. Cheers.